The Galactic Council Station Harmony 7 floated silently in the cold darkness between three star systems. It was a massive structure, home to over 40,000 beings from 12 different species. The station served as a trading hub, diplomatic center, and research facility. For 300 cycles, it had operated without major incident, but everything changed on what the survivors would later call the Day of Breaking. Station Commander Al stood in the central command chamber, his four arms trembling with fear. The officer had served in the Galactic Fleet for 50 cycles, but he had never witnessed anything like this. Red warning lights flashed everywhere. Alarms screamed through every corridor. The main reactor core had suffered a catastrophic failure, and the backup systems had mysteriously gone offline at the same time. The engineering chief, a brilliant named specialist, delivered the terrible news. The cooling systems were failing. Without proper cooling, the reactor would overheat within 6 hours. When it did, the resulting explosion would vaporize everything within 1,000 kilometers. There was no escape. The emergency transport ships required 12 hours to power up their faster-than-light drives. They did not have 12 hours. Explained that the repair would require specialized components that the station simply did not possess. They needed quantum stabilizers, graviton dampeners, and thermal conductors made from rare materials. The nearest supply depot was 4 days away. Even if they sent a distress signal immediately, help could not arrive in time. The situation was hopeless. Commander Al closed all 4 of his eyes and prepared to make a terrible announcement to his people. They would spend their final hours saying goodbye to loved ones across the galaxy. It was the only dignity he could offer them. But then someone spoke up. A voice came from the back of the command chamber. It was calm and steady, completely different from the panic that filled the room. Everyone turned to look at the speaker. She was a Terran, a human, one of those strange beings from the distant planet called Earth. Her name was Chief Engineer Maya, and she had only been assigned to Harmony 7 for 6 months. Maya walked forward through the crowd of terrified officers. She was small compared to most species on the station. Her brown eyes scanned the damage reports on the holographic displays. She asked several questions about the reactor design and the specific nature of the failures. They answered impatiently, wondering why this junior engineer was wasting their precious remaining time. Then Maya said something that shocked everyone in the room. She said she could fix it. She could repair the reactor with what they already had on the station. She just needed access to the salvage bay, some basic tools, and a team willing to follow her instructions. Commander Al stared at her with all 4 eyes wide open. He asked how this was possible when the most brilliant engineer on the station had declared the situation hopeless. Maya smiled slightly and explained that humans had a different way of looking at problems. Where others saw impossible obstacles, humans saw creative opportunities. Was offended. They declared that the repair required components built to exact specifications. Improvised solutions would never work on such complex technology. Maya nodded politely and said she understood his concern. Then she asked if he had a better idea. The room fell silent, had no answer. Commander Al made a decision. He gave Maya full authority over the repair effort. He assigned her a team of 20 workers from various species. He told her that the fate of 40,000 lives rested on her shoulders. Maya accepted the responsibility without hesitation. The first thing Maya did was visit the salvage bay. This was a massive storage area where broken equipment, damaged ship parts, and outdated machinery were kept before being recycled. Most species saw salvage as garbage, useless material waiting to be melted down. Maya saw it differently. To her, salvage was a treasure collection of possibilities. She walked through the mountains of discarded technology with wide eyes. Her mind worked constantly, connecting ideas and imagining combinations. She picked up a broken atmospheric processor from an old shuttle. She examined a burned-out gravity generator from a cargo ship. She found chemical containers, wire bundles, metal plates, and strange devices that nobody could even identify anymore. Maya began sorting items into groups. Her team watched with confusion as she explained her plan. The quantum stabilizers they needed could be simulated by combining 3 different types of energy regulators. None of these regulators were designed to work together. They came from completely different technological traditions, but Maya had studied the underlying physics. She understood that technology was just a tool for manipulating universal forces. The same forces could be controlled through many different methods. The graviton dampeners were a bigger challenge. These devices required incredibly precise manufacturing. Maya could not build new ones in the time available, but she realized she did not need to. The station's artificial gravity system used similar principles. By temporarily redirecting power from non-essential sections, she could use the existing gravity generators as makeshift dampeners. Her plan for the thermal conductors was the most creative of all. The cooling system needed materials that could transfer heat away from the reactor core very quickly. Such materials were rare and expensive, but Maya remembered something from her training back on Earth. Water was one of the most efficient thermal conductors in the universe. It was cheap, common, and available on every inhabited station. The station had a massive water recycling facility that processed wastewater into clean drinking water. Maya proposed redirecting this entire system to serve as an emergency coolant network. The water would absorb heat from the reactor and carry it to the outer hull, where it could be radiated into space. Protested loudly. He said this was insane. He argued that these systems were never designed to work together. Maya agreed with him. She said that was exactly why it might work. The original designers never imagined this situation. They built systems to function independently, but Maya was going to make them cooperate in ways nobody had ever tried before. The next 5 hours were the most intense of Maya's life. She led her team through the dangerous work with remarkable calmness. She crawled through maintenance tunnels that were barely large enough for her small human body. She connected cables and rerouted power lines. She welded metal plates and programmed control systems. Her hands became burned and cut, but she never stopped working. The alien workers were amazed by her endurance. Humans, they discovered, could function effectively for many hours without rest. Their bodies produced chemicals that blocked pain and fatigue. Maya called it adrenaline. She called it the survival instinct. Whatever it was, it pushed her beyond limits that seemed impossible. 3 hours before the predicted explosion, Maya encountered her first major failure. The energy regulators she had connected exploded in a shower of sparks. The simulation was unstable. Her calculations had been wrong. For a moment, despair threatened to overcome her, but she pushed it aside and started analyzing the failure. She discovered that the regulators were vibrating at different frequencies. They were fighting each other instead of working together. Maya needed to synchronize them somehow. She thought desperately, searching her memory for any solution. Then she remembered music. Back on Earth, she used to play guitar. Musicians tuned their instruments by matching frequencies. Sound waves that vibrated together created harmony. Sound waves that fought each other created noise. Maya realized that the same principle applied to energy waves. She asked if anyone had a frequency modulator. An old trader on the team remembered that his grandmother's broken communication device might contain one. He had kept it for sentimental reasons. Maya told him to get it immediately. The ancient device was covered in dust and strange symbols. Maya carefully removed the modulator and examined its design. It was completely foreign to her, but she understood the basic physics. She connected it to her improvised quantum stabilizer and began adjusting the frequencies. Slowly, carefully, she brought the 3 regulators into harmony. The sparking stopped. The system stabilized. Maya laughed with relief and continued working. 2 hours before the deadline, the water cooling system was operational. Maya's team had connected hundreds of pipes and pumps in a complex network that surrounded the reactor core. Cool water flowed through the system, absorbing the dangerous heat and carrying it safely away. 1 hour before the deadline, the gravity generators were reconfigured. Sections of the station lost their artificial gravity temporarily. Objects floated freely and people stumbled awkwardly. But the reactor was protected from gravitational interference. With 30 minutes remaining, Maya made her final connections. She sat at a makeshift control panel surrounded by wires and jury-rigged devices. Her team stood around her, holding their breath. Commander Al watched through a video connection from the command chamber. Maya activated the system. For 3 terrible seconds, nothing happened. Then the reactor readings began to change. The temperature started dropping. The energy output stabilized. The countdown to destruction slowed and finally stopped. Maya collapsed backward in her chair, too exhausted to speak. Tears rolled down her dirty face. Around her, aliens from a dozen different species began cheering. They embraced each other regardless of old rivalries or species differences. They were alive because of this one small human who refused to accept the impossible. Commander Al's voice came through the speakers. He declared Maya a hero of the Galactic Council. He said her actions would be recorded in the historical archives for all future generations to study. He said she had demonstrated the true strength of her species. Maya finally found her voice. She said she was just an engineer doing her job. She said any human would have done the same thing. Humans were stubborn that way. Approached her slowly. The Proud looked ashamed of his earlier doubts. He asked how she had known her improvised solutions would work. Maya admitted that she hadn't known for certain. She had guessed, calculated, hoped, and tried. That was how humans solved problems. They attempted things that might fail. They learned from their mistakes. They never gave up until every option was exhausted. The nodded thoughtfully. He said his people built perfect systems that worked exactly as designed, but perfect systems could not adapt to unexpected situations. Perhaps there was wisdom in the human approach. In the days that followed, Harmony 7 became famous throughout the galaxy. News of the Terran engineer spread to thousands of worlds. Other species began studying human problem-solving methods. They invited human engineers to work on their most challenging projects. They asked human teachers to educate their young people in creative thinking. Maya returned to Earth several years later. She wrote a book about her experience called Salvaged Engineering. It became required reading at engineering academies across the galaxy. Her method saved countless lives and stations in the centuries that followed. But Maya always said the same thing when people praised her. She said humans were nothing special. They were just another species trying to survive in a vast and dangerous universe. The only difference was that humans refused to believe in impossible problems. Every challenge had a solution. Every disaster had a path to survival. You just had to be creative enough to find it. And that perhaps was the most remarkable thing about Terrans. They faced the universe not with superior technology or ancient wisdom. They faced it with stubbornness, creativity, and an absolute refusal to accept defeat. These qualities could not be manufactured in factories or taught in schools. They were simply part of what it meant to be human. The galaxy was slowly beginning to understand this truth, and it would never look at the small beings from the third planet of the Sol system the same way again.